Alrighty, fanboys and fangirls, it seems like mid-ranges are going to be taking over the tech world, and it seems like it's going to be that way for a while, because coming up on today's episode, we're going to take a look at two mid-ranges. The first is the Samsung Galaxy S21 FE edition. I will discuss everything that we know about the phone and the recent new iterations by Bless, and we'll see what they look like in practical models. Also on today's episode, we have more information on the iPhone SE3, and there are some wild rumors that we will discuss to kind of see if that is the case that they are going in. And lastly, as you know by now, there has been a huge data breach with T-Mobile, and I am finally going to weigh in my opinion on that, as I have finally gathered all the information and to break down to the story to you, the general consumers. All of that on today's episode, so stay tuned. So story number one, the main story, the Samsung Galaxy S21 FE edition. Now, I have been talking about mid-ranges for a while now, and with the new release of the Pixel 5a, it seems that mid-ranges have become the new standard for smartphone people. Basically, if you can't afford the flagship but you want a flagship-like experience, it seems that mid-ranges have come such a long way. It was only a few years ago that the Pixel 3a was out and everybody raved about it, and now we're talking about the 5a and its huge increase. And it looks like that's going to be the case with Samsung, as their S20 FE edition was a huge success. It brought in tons of sales, came in tons of colors, and got people into Samsung Galaxy devices, but it also gave you the flagship experience without breaking the bank. And it seems like we're going to get that again with the S21 FE edition. According to Bless, the renders are on his page, which shows a white version of the phone in a full symmetrical design that he has rendered himself. Now, taking a look at the render, we do see it has a full screen display, very reminiscent to the S21 itself. The bottom has what I can assume to be not just the speaker grill, but also it looks like an SD card slot. I don't really know. There's a couple of holes at the bottom. Could just be some screws, who knows. But we see it will have a USB-C port. It will be flattened out, so something that the tech world is heading in. It seems like everybody's going back to the traditional design when the iPhone 4 and the 4S are going, and now with the iPhone 12 Pro and Pro Max, it seems that everything's going to be flat. They're getting rid of round designs, they're going back to flat designs. And also taking a look at the renders, we do have a better idea of what it's going to look like with the camera, with all the layout of the punch hole they call it. Again, I haven't really been covering a lot, guys. I swear to God, I have fallen so far, but I gotta get back into it anyway. But the last thing that we will discuss about the S21 FE is that the new model is relatively coming soon. Now, according to Bless, there is no time frame, but the rumor is stating in the fall. Now, it seems that they want to kind of compete with Apple in a way, and they kind of want to do something different. I don't know the gist of that, but taking a look at the hardware itself, it will be very similar to last year's model, but it will have improved CPU. Of course, it is going to have a 1080p display, and of course, you can expect the full 3-year support of OS upgrades, and then an additional year with security patches. Now, this is where I gotta say, you know, we have always talked about mid-ranges really not being the device to recommend. But seeing as how companies are trying to improve them, trying to make them very close to flagship, and really giving good value, it's hard not to recommend a, mid-range. And it's only a matter of time before the market starts to adjust and people realize where the money lies. Sure, the premium flagship phones are the way to go if you have that kind of money, but if you're looking to take a step back but still get some of those good features, going down the mid-range area is not a bad idea anymore. And now that they're coming with 5G, bigger batteries, fast charging, if you're a wireless charging fan, then you're probably going to lose out. But who knows? We might see a mid-range with wireless charging, which is actually our next story. Speaking of mid-range with wireless charging, let's talk about the iPhone SE. Now, the iPhone SE has been considered by many to be the best, smallest, and the best starting price iPhone that money can buy you. Nobody really holds it in a class with all the other smartphones that are coming out, like the 5a and soon to be the S21 FE edition, so a lot of people really aren't talking about those devices, especially in this range. But it seems that the SE3 is going to answer a lot of what those devices are going for, and one of the big areas that it seems is Face ID. Now, the rumors again are very early. We don't know exactly what the details are, as this phone is expected to be released next year. But according to Mark Gurman, it seems that Apple is focused on bringing face scanners to all their model of products, not just the iPad, but also to the Mac, and now all the iPhones, including the iPhone SE. According to Mark Gurman, he does not state that whether the iPhone SE3 will have Face ID, but according to a beta code in iOS 14.5 that was used on the iPhone SE, there was an option that allowed Face ID while wearing a mask that was caught in the beta. Now, some people are speculating that maybe it was just a mix-up because, of course, software is different, or it could be hinting at a future release. Now, of course, betas don't really give us 100% confirmation, but we have seen track records where betas can provide those as well. So I'm gonna have to say hold off on that, but definitely keep it in the ear because you never know. And also, according to Ming-Chi Kuo, in regards to the iPhone SE3, it will have 5G, it will have either sub-6 or millimeter wave, depending on which route Apple chooses to go down, and that the design of the iPhone SE is going to stay the same. However, there is reports of the SE Plus, which is basically just an iPhone 8 Plus or an iPhone 7 Plus, basically those Plus or bigger designs, and they are going to stick with an LCD panel, but eventually will phase into the mini LED displays. And that is all the information that we have on the iPhone SE3. Now, a lot of people are saying that this is going to be the model that really goes to competition with the Google Pixel 5a and now the reported S21 FE edition. And that is a relatively fair assumption because, you know, whenever Apple does anything, a lot of people are going to tend to go towards them. And in this case, you're talking about a cheaper iPhone that, even though it has an LCD display, not like OLED, can give you the iOS experience, give you the 5G capabilities, and of course, basically just get you into iOS. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see how Apple kind of pans this out. But I am telling you right now, a Plus version of the iPhone SE is a very good option, and I would hope to see them come out with a bigger version of the iPhone SE just for more consumers to wrap their brains around. And last story, the final story, the one that we got to get very serious for, guys, the T-Mobile data leak. Now, as you guys know, there have been a lot of stories, a lot of people have been talking about it, T-Mobile Tech has talked about it. I haven't talked about it because I wanted to wait and get the full spectrum of this story and discuss where I stand. Now, as you know, earlier this week, we heard about a massive data breach that came from T-Mobile. And it seems that the extent of this damage is actually bigger than we thought. It says here, according to 9 to 5, that they are rising beyond 50 million accounts that were leaked and breached. It says here that the Un-carrier has added now an additional 5.3 million postpaid customers to those names that got their information compromised. According to T-Mobile themselves, we previously reported that an approximately 7.8 million customers were in the first and last names with date of birth, social security, driver's license info were compromised. We can now confirm that 5.3 million postpaid customers have had now not only their address, date of birth, phone numbers, IMEIs, illegally or legally. Their addresses and social security number informations did not get leaked, however, with those separation. But then we see that now that these damages are talking in 47.8 million total customers being affected, and that there could be over 100 million carriers and other things. Like, this story is going all over the place, and there's really no way else for me to say it. This is a very serious situation because whoever really hacked or did this data breach, some people are saying it's a 15, 18-year-old, who knows who did it. But the main thing is people's data have been breached. It is a very serious thing, and it's something that should not be taken lightly, because imagine if this falls into the wrong hands, which it probably is going to fall into the wrong hands if not taking precaution. And I really don't know what to say on this story, because I could easily blame T-Mobile and say they should have had better security, but at the flip side, we've seen other people become compromises to these attacks. So it's not easy for me to give a fair assessment because there's multiple different sides for me to say this. All I'm going to say is, if you are a T-Mobile customer, if you feel that you have a privacy right, if you want to get this thing organized, then by all means exercise your right. Contact T-Mobile, ask them what's going on, see if they can provide you any updates, and definitely take measures to protect yourself privately, securely, and most of all, so that way, if anything ever happens in the future, you are well protected. This story is getting worse and worse by the day, so I am going to keep you guys up to date. Again, it's not easy for me to blame T-Mobile, but at the same breath, I could just pull the trigger and go that route. but there are multiple different factors that go into this. So I want to hear your thoughts down below about this particular story. What do you think of the data breach, and what do you think is going to happen now? And that's for today's episode of Technoid. Now guys, really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit the like button. If you disliked the video, you could hit the dislike button. That helps circulate my videos as well. As always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next episode. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Take care, stay safe, have a good day, and peace.